Hey guys, welcome back. Tisha here, back with another Love and Marriage Huntsville review. Let's hope I do not choke because I don't have any water over here. I don't know what I was thinking. Let's begin. Nell comes to Chris's office. They discuss Sonny and Moses. Apparently, Sonny and Moses have been flipping houses in St. Louis, so they want to kind of do something similar in Alabama, and they're considering making a move there. So Chris is going to help them. Nell wonders if this is going to be a conflict of interest with Destiny because of their relationship. He later on refers to Destiny as his sister. I don't understand when this situation happened, when Destiny became such close friends with them, and what her being friends with him has to do with the business. Nell then changes the subject because Chris isn't trying to hear what she has to say, to why she came there in the first place. She says that the kids are stressing her out because they need their help too much, and it's very stressful for her that they keep on asking for money for things like rent and other expenses, and it's taking from them, which is causing her to have mental health issues. So she wants to have a conversation with them so that they can set some boundaries, and she's like, do you not see a shift in me and how I've been? And he says, yeah, I've been with you for 30 years. I've seen a shift in you. Is something that we do need to talk about. There's something that's missing in this conversation, though. I really don't care to hear certain things at this point because, in my opinion, even though I felt like Nell and Fletcher would be a great addition to the show, there are obviously some things that they are hiding. You're sitting here and you're talking about adult children that you feel like keep taking from you. It, to me, isn't so much as a reflection of the kids. It's a reflection of your parenting, which in my opinion is poor. I understand that there is only so much you can do as a parent. You can teach your kids all these different things and tell them, or encourage them to become a success. But as a parent, if I see my child isn't doing what they're supposed to do by at least maintaining a job, a 9 to 5, I don't care if you work at McDonald's or something like that. And I'm not trying to downplay the fast food industry. My point is, I don't care if you are working a job that for you for now is just a stepping stone. It's not something as you see as a career. Do it until you find what it is that you really want to do. That way you don't have to continue to leech off of people. But it doesn't seem like they've instilled this in their children. They've always let their children know that they could keep coming to them for a handout, and that's not okay. So Chris says, even though Destiny is his sister, he didn't feel like felt the need to talk to her about showing Sonny and Moses the properties, but business is business, and that friendship is that friendship. Sorry, I just remembered. They're going to have the kids over for dinner. He asked Nell to cook. She don't really want to cook, but she's going to cook. Back to what I was saying. I don't think that it's her business either. I'm not going to lose money because of your personal feelings regarding a situation that has nothing to do with me. And let's be clear, if he were to sell those homes, if they weren't on the show, this isn't even anything that they would discuss. You're not telling someone the inner workings of your job. You're just not. I don't come home every day and say, well, I had to do this Excel document, and when I finished compiling my totals, that I noticed that we were short on our payments from patients. I'm not saying that. That doesn't make sense. It's not everyday conversation. So why would he come in and say something? Martell asked if, Chris spoke to Destiny because he comes to Martell's place. I don't know whether he built it or not. He's saying Martell built it, to discuss showing this. And Chris doesn't feel like he has a need to. He says Martell built a home and he needs to sell it. And that's what he's there to do. Despite us knowing that Martell did not build that home, Martell, to me, owes Destiny more than what he's trying to act like Chris owes by having a conversation about there being interest in this. Because the moment that he found out that it was Sonny coming to this property, he could have been like, nah, I don't want to work with you. But he didn't, because much like Chris, Martell needs this. Sonny says, we're starting our family, so we need a home. They walk around, they look at the place. She says it's cute, but the bedrooms are small. Moses and Sonny want their kids to be in a safe environment. They're asking for $340,000 Martell is for the house. The subject of the gala comes up. Sonny says that, you know, she understands that Destiny feels the way and it's okay for her to have her emotions, but disrespect is another thing. Sonny, you continue to act like you're better than Destiny or that you did not do anything wrong. And that is where I continue to have a problem with you, because you're making excuses for your behavior. Acknowledge the fact that you hurt this girl, take some ownership in what you did, and keep it moving, because it seems to me like you're trying to move into a position where you're on this show, and as long as she continues to have the mindset that she has, people are going to continue to be bothered by her. Moses says, you know, Destiny fell off and that she was doing her and she wasn't paying attention to him. She dropped the ball. I'm not going over this conversation again. We've heard it on multiple episodes. Martell says, as far as he's concerned, he's neutral. Chris says, oh, so you're neutral. You're not picking sides. And Martell says, right now I'm neutral. But if he does something to Destiny, then I'm not going to be neutral. See, you and your wife are different. You and your wife are y'all riding with Melody. And why would you do that when you see what she does to me? Him having this conversation is childish, because Chris has shown time and time again that he's neutral. If he sided with Mel, then he wouldn't be interacting with you at all. And we've seen Chris film multiple scenes with you so that you can have a storyline, because we can't talk about what's really going on because of all the different judgments and everything else, and the fact that y'all have to be in court. We can't talk about it up here. So what else would he have to give? Because we also can't see his children on here because he's blocked that. So thank Chris for giving you some storyline. Sonny says she hopes that at this point, and at some point, her and Destiny could move on and be cordial, that you can't help who you fall in love with, that kids are coming, babies are going to be on the way. They've done IVF, etc., blah, 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 because we hear about it again later on. Martell says he wishes them the best. We later see Martell show up at Stormy's warehouse. This makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't understand why they keep having these fake scenes. And at this point, the fact that Carlos continues to allow this whole millimeter thing to be played out time and time again when the millimeters aren't even a part of the show shows how much disdain at times I feel like he has for Mel, because I'm tired of the millimeter bashing, and I'm not even a millimeter. Stormy brings up Trisha and Martell and how weird they were acting when they came over her house. He admits that, you know, he was acting a little weird because he kind of downplayed it, but Trisha did come to his house a few times, but nothing happened. He said they just chilled. But on the couch, on confessional, he tells us that, you know, he was interested in her enough to DM her to come to his crib to see what's up. She didn't come over there just to come over there. Stormy wants to know if he told Ken this. And he was like, no, I ain't tell Ken. It was before Ken. He had the opportunity to tell Ken that when they were sitting in that bowling scene and tell him what the situation was. But Martell is a coward. And Courtney was right when he says Martell's not telling the full story. Neither one of them are. Martell says, you know, let's just switch the subject to the gala. I'm surprised that Mel wasn't there. I don't know why he was surprised when he had already had a conversation with someone else about Mel. Mel had already told other people that she didn't want to be around you. That's one of the reasons why you weren't invited to Nell's party. Stop acting surprised. Stormy finds it hard to believe that Mel can't be in the same room with him. And he's like, yeah, I know, because we could be in the same room. We were just in the same room the other day, For my daughter and her spelling bee contest, she sat in one spot and I sat in another. Them being in a room together for the purposes of their child is completely different than them being together for social reasons or just to film a scene for this show. Mel is trying to protect her peace. He's shown time and time again that every time he gives her she gives him an inch, he takes a mile. And the fact that these people don't get it, the fact that Stormy isn't taking this time to call it out, even though she wants Mel to call out the millimeters, shows that Stormy is flawed. You want Mel to call out her fans about the things that they do that's wrong, but you're not calling out her husband, or her ex-husband, I should say, about the multiple things that he's done that's wrong. Instead, you're going to sit here in your warehouse, kiki, and have a conversation about Mel and wonder why Mel halfway involves herself with you. Stormy let him know that she went through the same thing that he did and got arrested for harassing communications because a millimeter had came to her warehouse and harassed her, and she said certain things. First of all, it's not the same thing. Second of all, the fact that you're saying that him trying to put out revenge P is, and saying the things that he said and making the threats that he made, is the same thing as you going outside and insulting a lady that came to your warehouse and her saying whatever it was that she said to you is the same thing, is ridiculous. Whether the case was dismissed or not, whatever she presented to law enforcement allowed her to get a warrant out for you. So you did something that they felt may have some bearings. Don't just sit here and act like, oh, I fussed her out and I don't get why there's a warrant out for me. You said or did something that was more than you just fussing it out. Right or wrong, I don't really care. Just be honest about what you did. He says, if anyone knows what Stormy is going through, it's him, because the millimeters are unhinged. She created them and she named them. Did she? I don't recall that being the story. From what I understand, based on what I've seen over the years on social media, is the millimeters came into existence because a group of women got together to try to support Mel when they felt like the cast wasn't supporting Mel. Now, I don't agree with all the other antics, but understand that the millimeters aren't the only ones that seem to be doing things. For whatever reason, anyone who opposes anything that the cast members do, they're being labeled as a millimeter. Now, of course, BT, the lady who showed up at the warehouse, is listed as a millimeter. But either way, why do we have to keep hearing that associated with the person? Just call the person what the person is. It's a fan of the show that came to your establishment. You felt uncomfortable, you got upset, you got to arguing, and that's that. It don't have anything to do with what Martell went through with the fans who got tired of him being disrespectful, being rude, being a chauvinist, being a pig, being all the things that Martell has been over the years, and you expect them not to comment on it. Martell is also the same person that put custody papers out there, put out information, doxed her, sent it to numerous bloggers, sat there on Tasha K, revealing evidence of her supposedly assaulting him. Meanwhile, he didn't show everything that led up to that moment, or the things that he said or did, or the fact that he took money out of her account and all those other things. So he's not innocent either, but nobody brings that up. He asked her how her and Mel are doing, and she says, I thought we were cool. She was all happy and everything else. The energy was high. But then once this whole situation happened with the gala, there was no more interaction out the blue. You're sitting here talking to him about the fact that he didn't follow through with the gala when you're meeting him now. So did you and Martell have any more interaction after that? Why do you expect for Mel to bend over backwards and speak to you? You guys were only interacting for the purposes of filming. You've been not being friends. You being social is one thing. Friends is another. And you're sitting here having all these various conversations with the people that she does not feel are her people. Example, Destiny and Martell. The man that she told you she wants nothing to do with, and you're supposed to supposedly be being neutral, and yet you're over here giving him information about his ex. That's not you being neutral. Neutral means you shut down the conversation when it comes up. She says that she thinks that Mel has an issue with her being okay with Destiny. Well, Nell has told us time and time again that she's cool with Destiny. She's even defended her at some points. So if that's the case, then why would Mel go to Nell's party? She don't got a problem with you being friends with her. She just sees you for who you are. If you had this opinion of Mel, why not tell Mel when you saw her? No, you didn't tell Mel. Instead, what you did was you went and told Martell, and you went and said something to Destiny. You always say something to everybody but Mel. Done with that scene. On to Kimmy. Kimmy and Maurice are out to meet up with Sonny and Moses. Apparently, they have an office left at university, as Kimmy is calling it. And Destiny wants it, and she just feels like it's ironic that Destiny called her wanting it at the same time that they're supposed to meet up with them. I don't understand what's going on with Kimmy and Maurice right now. I don't even understand what's going on with Mel right now, because Mel hasn't been on the past 2 episodes. And when she was on the ones before that, her role was limited, and she's not advertising the show or promoting it like she once was. So I don't get that. I also don't understand what Kimmy's doing, because why are you a main character and we're not seeing main character energy? You're just popping in a very limited role. I don't get it. So they're there to talk to Moses and Sonny. Sonny and Moses arrive. Sonny lets them know that her and Moses are planning on moving to Huntsville. Kimmy says, out of all places, Huntsville, which is the same thing that we're thinking, because why Huntsville? And she's like, yes, it's growing. Huntsville is a growing community, and that she has family and friends that are there. Kimmy feels like it's adding salt to the wound. And I got to agree with Kimmy, it is, but they don't care because they want to be on the show. Moses was not willing to move to this area for Destiny, but here he is now, and he wants to move here for Sonny. That is an insult, and it is putting salt in the wound. I don't care for Destiny. I don't care for Sonny either, but I gotta call it like I see it. You are rubbing it in her face. Even you being on this show in the capacity that you are is rubbing it in her face. But she needs to thank you, because she wouldn't be on the show without this. They're hesitant about moving to the north side, even though they thought the home that they were shown would be a nice investment property. They said, the north side got some stuff going on. And Maurice is like, you can't really say anything about the north side. Anything in Huntsville is better than what you have been going through where you're at in St. Louis. They talk about how that could be true. They started their second round of IVF. They want twins, both a boy and a girl. Maurice is laughing, saying everything that y'all do is fast. And she says that they started doing IVF because she found out very early on, before they got married, that she has some complications. So they started before she got married. That's a little different to me. To each his own. I personally wouldn't be doing that, but there are no guarantees in marriage either. So I'll stay in my place. They talk about their history as far as, children to where they are now. Maurice says it was 8 of them, and that everything was good until his dad got locked up, and then it was just his mom raising them. He said 31 of his friends had passed before he was 21. He moved to get away from that, and he got out of, I think he said, Detroit because of college. Moses can relate to that because he came up in a certain environment that was similar. He had 8 cousins, but he was raised by his grandmother and his grandmother's home and some of his aunts and uncles. He grew up in Walnut Park, which is where Sonny's family also grew up as well. So they're trying to show us, the common things between them. He says that the first time he went to prison, he was 17. He got out at around 19 and then went back in at 19 again. He owned his first property at 19, flipped this, sold this, whatever. He ended up doing a few years, and then his last bid was 8 years. So he's done 15 years altogether of hard time, which is a lot. That's 15 years of his life that he lost. The turning point for him was, he said that he lost so many people and he wasn't able to be there. He lost his sister and his uncle and his grandmother and his brother and his best friend. And two of those people he lost during COVID, and it's just like it was too much. Maurice says, I didn't get why he was pressed before, why he was moving so quickly before, but I kind of get it now. He lost a lot of time being locked up. I actually did appreciate the scene with them talking about this, because this is something that does happen daily. There are people who get locked up because of their environment, and it takes a lot for them to avoid certain things. And it just seems like Moses got caught up in just fast money, because he admits it. He said at 19 he was a homeowner because his grandmother, gave him that home. But here you are saying you're a homeowner and you also like fast money. So I'm assuming, because he didn't say it, at least I don't remember, that might have had something to do with drugs. Correct me down below if you know the real reason. So he invests now in real estate, and he also does logistics. He says that Sonny motivates him, and that's what he needed. Maurice is like, listening to them, it's clear that they're equally yoked, and that Sonny seems to be the leader, as she should be, considering the amount of time that he was away. I don't know if Sonny being the leader is necessarily a good thing, because it seems that majority of his life he's had someone who's told him what he needs to do, when he needs to do it, how he needs to do it. That's what he's accustomed to. He had 15 years of it. So I feel like he needs to experience coming up with things on his own without having someone telling him to do that. And I feel like him jumping from girl to girl to girl is also not a good sign, but we'll see how their relationship plays out. Kimmy says that us sitting here with them may look messy, but I just have an affinity to Sonny, because although I had my core people while I was going through my cancer, Sonny was there. She did her best to be there for me, and I just appreciate her doing that. I just have such an affinity for her. She tells them that, at the place that they have, one of the tenants is doing a mom and pop eatery, and that they're going to be doing a taste testing, and she's thinking about inviting them to that. She adds, I could have showed y'all a house too, but it's okay that you went with Chris. She asks, Kimmy does, like, how is Martell? Because he's very close with Destiny, and they're like, he was cool about it. She says, but if you got some homes that we could look at, we'll look at what you have too. And Kimmy says, no, I really can't do that, which I appreciated Kimmy declining it, but they let her know that they didn't sign anything. So Kimmy's like, oh, okay, well, if you didn't sign anything, I can help you, because it's not locked in. I don't really know if they're planning on doing all of that out there. We'll see. I guess it depends if they get an offer or not to be on the show, because that's what it's about. They want to be on the show. Back to Nell and Chris. She's making lasagna, and even though she's making it, Chris is trying to tell her what she needs to do to the lasagna, like add more meat. Kayla, Kiki, who's the niece, Chris Jr., and Lance arrive. Chris Jr. announces that he has a job. Nell wastes no time to get in there. She says, I'm proud of you. Keep up the good work and keep that job, because we're now setting boundaries. Don't call me no more asking for stuff. It's always something that you guys want, and y'all are setting us back. I don't feel like it's them setting them back. I feel like the adults in this situation, well, I shouldn't say adults because they're all adults. The parents in this situation are doing it to themselves. You raise these kids not to be financially responsible. Get a job. Tell them to get a job. You're saying you're going to cut them off, then cut them off. Then she says, I'm only taking care of my grandkids. She says, my two grandkids, referring to Lance's kids, and her niece starts crying because her child isn't mentioned. She says, I don't have no parents. I don't have anybody. I'm all by myself. Nell apologizes and says, like, I didn't mean that. I don't look at it like that. And Kiki says, you didn't mean anything by it, but I got to deal with it. You aren't my mom. You aren't my dad. Y'all aren't my siblings. We find out that she has her mom and dad. They're both living, but they haven't been active in her life. That's rough. Part of me kind of wonders about Nell a little bit. It might have been a Freudian slip. Y'all tell me what you think, because I know personally, like, I have a cousin that is she's my first cousin. She was raised by my youngest aunt, but my oldest aunt birthed her. she called both of them mom even when she said mother for her biological mother. But even for a time, my oldest aunt was missing out of her life for like 15 years. And then when she came back, it took some time, but over time, she started calling her mother. And even when that transition happened, my youngest aunt, who did not birth her, never stopped referring to her as her child. And when my cousin had a child, that is her grandchild. And she very much so does not separate. Unless you know the history of our family, you wouldn't know. With that being said, it makes me wonder why Nell made a point of only pointing out those two kids, because she said it more than once. And if her niece didn't start crying, I wonder if she would have flipped it. Y'all tell me what you think. I may be thinking too much into it. Her niece says, y'all are the only parents that I have. Nell apologizes, saying that she didn't look at it like that. Kiki says, I know you didn't mean anything by it, but I got to deal with the reality of it is that you aren't my mom, he's not my dad, and they aren't my siblings. Chris asks, I already said that, but sorry, y'all. Chris asks how they feel about group therapy. Kiki says she'll like it. She thinks it's a good idea. Chris Jr. says he wants to do a one-on-one, and he also wants to do one with the family. I wonder if he ever followed up with the therapist after the first one that they did. The others agree that they want to do it as well. So Chris says we're going to use Dr. Francis. They joke about it, saying that he's not going to hold back no punches, and they're all going to go. But Chris Jr. points out that his mom needs a solo therapist, that she needs her own therapy, and I agree. Because Nell, even though she's cool, you can tell she has a hot temper. She says, I don't need no therapy. I just need to get out of debt. I ain't talking to nobody. And that's how that ends. I feel like Nell needs to see that she's not perfect and that she's flawed as well. This episode was a little bit better than the last, but it still got on my nerves because they continue to try to push narratives and force storylines down our face and drag this stuff out. But you all let me know what you think down below. Until next time.